The Tokyo Toy Show prototype is the earliest known, as far as I know, showing of Sonic 1 with a playable demo to the public. And it's given this name because, well, that's what the name of the show was that it was at. And they want to include this as a playable secret in Sonic Mega Collection. However, unfortunately they couldn't do it because they lost it, which is really sad because that would have been awesome. And because of that, this has become one of the most sought after pieces of lost media. And a bit ago when El Supersonic Q actually did like a poll or just like a questionnaire of what the most sought after pieces of lost media are on his Twitter, this actually ended up ranking as first. You can see the similarities of this in the final game, but the differences are also pretty obvious. Ashura is one of the most famous, if not the most famous glitch in the whole series. And what it is that if you do the debug mode on Emerald Hill Zone of Sonic 2 and you spawn in a bunch of waterfalls, to put it very, very brief and non-technically, this will cause the sprite stasis table to overflow into the palette table, which will cause Sonic's colors to mess up and make him green and black as opposed to blue. And yeah, this ended up becoming really popular when it was first discovered in the 90s. It still is today, and people interpret him as his own character, obviously named Ashura. And everybody seems to see him as like this more sinister counterpart to Sonic. That personality and name are both inspired by Akuma. And it would be pretty fucking cool if he became like an official thing sometime. Even if Sega themselves haven't really acknowledged him, he did inspire Scourge, and more importantly, Surge, without the C. Sonic's band Girlfriend is going to be the first of the cut ideas pre-Sonic 1 or during Sonic 1 that I'll just do all in a row. And this has become very common knowledge now. Just an idea for characters and relationships to Sonic is that he was going to have a band as well as a human girlfriend. For the band, you can obviously, how it later inspired, actual characters in the series, like Vector. As for Sonic having a human love interest, let's just not bother looking into any official sightings of that in the series. Protagonist Eggman. So before Sonic 1 came out, Sega was looking for a new mascot that could more properly compete with Mario. And yeah, Eggman was one of the original ideas of this, and you can see his neat early design from this. However, they of course changed this to Sonic eventually, and Eggman got regulated to the mold of the antagonist, and the rest is history. Feels the Rabbit is the name given to an early design for the protagonist. It became Sonic, but he's a completely different looking character. And yeah, he's been given somewhat of a fan base because of that. I do really like his design. I like to see them as different characters, and if he ever became a real thing, I like to imagine he's how they originally wanted to have Oswald be in Epic Mickey, where he's a sympathetic antagonist who's really upset and really mad and wants to clobber that blasted hedgehog for stealing his role and taking the spotlight. Yeah, they're both coincidentally rabbits, so Splats is coincidentally another rabbit too who was cut from Sonic 1, and fairly late at that, which caused some strange oddities which we'll go over later on in this Iceberg. And yeah, he was an enemy who was cut last minute, and if you could tell by the boingy boingy design and the name, I assume that he would jump up and try to squish that stupid hedgehog. And yeah, he's also become kind of popular, and it's a cute design, and he's been inserted into fan creations and stuff like Feels, and they were both in Sonic Overture, which was made by one of the devs for Mania. Mr. Needlemouse is in quotations because this was mistakenly conceived as an early name for Sonic. However, it was just a mistranslation for Mr. Hedgehog. Now, that fact has become common sense and knowledge now. However, despite that, Mr. Needlemouse has become somewhat of his own thing and has jokingly been given the name to weird early designs for Sonic, specifically this good boy who you see over here. And people have characterized it as this zany, wild, crazy, insane cartoon character, which I think is pretty funny. Pink Knuckles. Okay, we're off the Sonic 1 early stuff now, and I guess now we're sort of talking about Sonic 3, but anyway, when Sonic 3 first came out with no and Knuckles included, Knuckles had a slightly more pink design to his color scheme, as well as yellow socks. Now, the yellow socks were fixed later on in the game, and those can be just pointed at from, like, sprite limitations, because it's the same color as the words in the HUD. But, yeah, he also became more red, with the pinker color, as far as I know, being more of a mystery. Now, despite this, the pink Knuckles design still made its way into other official sources and comics and stuff, especially in Europe, again, with that, like, Knack's name. And yeah, people do like this design, and I can't blame them, it doesn't look bad. Apparently, this has somewhat of a reference in Mania 2, with Knuckles having a slightly more pink shade, but who knows if it was intentional or not. The Adventures of Sonic Hedgehog Pilot is exactly as it says, just the pilot episode of the series. But this wasn't publicly available for a while. I think it was sometime during the mid-2000s. It just ended up coming out. And yeah, you can see some of the subtle differences and oddities between this and the final series. It has its own Sonic Says segment, and I feel like that best kind of captures the almost kind of creepy and dystopian, desolate atmosphere it has, but maybe that has to do with the recording quality of it. It's a weird feeling, to say the least, and Tails also has, like, a different voice that's a bit more cute, and something I found funny was somebody said, oh look, he's almost the right color in this one, and something that's really interesting, though, for this is that this screen that you see here was used for the Game Over and Mean Bean Machine. How exactly you saw it, I'm not sure, but yeah, that's something to think about. Hydrocity is meant to be Hydrocity with a space. This has become the most accepted idea regarding this. Evidence to suggest this includes the fact that every other zone in Sonic 3 has a space in it. And apparently later official references to the name of this course has a space too. And yeah, apparently it was just a fuck up. It was more common back then to have stupid little mistakes like this, and I totally believe it. And if they never fixed that, or if they did fix that, I mean, and never had the oversight, then it would have avoided the whole entire stupid pronunciation debate. I used to just naturally say Hydrocity from how it looked. I can't blame other people for doing that, but now I just say Hydrocity, knowing that this is most likely the case. And yeah, I mean, I guess if more people knew that, it would also end those stupid debates. Mighty left Chaotix with Ray, so here's just like a general idea that people have come up with. This is basically official in like the Archie comics and such, but it can also be used to the main games to kind of like give sense to Mighty's various weird relationships that ended up happening due to development reasons. And just basically, you start with Sega Sonic, it's Mighty, Ray, and Sonic, and they're all friends, but something happens at some point, they all get separated. Mighty, being lost, decides to join Team Chaotix, this ragtag group, just to find some sort of placement and maybe companionship, and he's not really feeling it, though. It's pretty goofy. At some point, though, he's able to find Ray again, and he leaves Team Chaotix and just spends his time with his true little buddy, which is really wholesome to think about. And just look at Ray. Why wouldn't you want to be with him? Okay, so earlier in this, I already talked about how Fang's name was originally Knack and got changed, and this is saying that people like to see it as being the case in Universe 2, where Fang is a nickname that he uses to sound more threatening and cool and such. Or you could also see it as a full-on name change in Universe 2, and if that's the case, then good for him. Okay, so that does it for this layer. Still pretty common knowledge, but the next one will go into more obscure things, so see you then.